In today's episode of Today in World War II, December 13th, a major naval battle takes place off of Argentina between the Royal Navy and a German pocket battleship. A legless ace in the RAF receives a prestigious award. A huge battle takes place in the Mediterranean Sea between the British Royal Navy and the Italians, and it didn't go the Italians' way. Uh, Finally, the Western press on this date starts talking about the extermination of the Jews by the Nazi regime. And finally, uh, the British get a major prize when it comes to their attempts to break the Nazi codes. Let's get started. Okay, on December 13, 1939, the long anticipated waited or expected battle happened off of Argentina between the British naval forces that the Royal Navy had sent to the South Atlantic specifically to sink the German pocket battleship, the Graf Spee, and a force of British cruisers that were sent after them. It was an interesting battle. It was the Graf Spee had longer range guns but was not able, for whatever reason, to be able to keep the cruisers at arm's length, and be able to pound them with its guns. The cruisers were able to get close enough to inflict some major damage on the Graf Spee, which did enough damage to where the captain decided that if he kept the battle up, he would not be able to survive. So he made the decision to go into Uruguayan home waters to the port of Montevideo to get repairs in the hopes that the Uruguayans would allow him to do some quick repairs and to leave again without having the Uruguayan authorities intern the ship and its crew for the duration of the war. I'm not going to do a spoiler alert on this because there's still things that are going to happen here in the coming days. But to suffice it to say, it was a very bad day for the Graf Spee. And we'll leave it at that for right now. What's not a bad day is when you go ahead and click the subscribe button and the little bell symbol that will allow you to get notified whenever I drop a new video. You know the drill. It's not like your first day on YouTube. I'm asking you to do me a solid. If you like my content, you seem to like it because you're here watching, go ahead and do that for me, okay? I appreciate it. And then on December 13th, 1941, another major naval battle took place. In this battle, it happened off of Tunisia, North Africa. It's called the Battle of Cape Bon. And as I've talked about ad nauseum in my previous videos, most of what was happening in the Mediterranean, especially on the naval side, had everything to do with Malta and supplying the arms, weapons, fuel, and ammunition to the Germans and Italians in North Africa, and the British trying to interdict that. In this case, we had a group of Royal Navy and Dutch destroyers. You had the Sieg, the Mare, the Legion, and the Dutch destroyer Isaac Swears, and they were going up against an Italian fleet composed of two light cruisers and some destroyers. And it was toe to toe. And what seemed to usually happen in these battles between the Royal Navy and the Italian Navy usually came off worse in the exchange. In this case, the Brits were able to destroy or sink both of the cruisers, the Italian cruisers, and a torpedo boat. Um, well, let's see. The Italians lost about 1,000 sailors, but what was more crucial was that over 2,000 tons of aviation fuel that was meant for for the Luftwaffe and the Italian Air Force in North Africa was lost. And at the risk of sounding cold-hearted, but if you look at it from if the Axis forces weighed what was more important, the lives of 1,000 sailors or 2,000 tons of aviation fuel, I think they would have gladly sacrificed the sailors if that fuel had gotten through. In this case, it didn't, and that was only helping the Allied war effort in the in the Mediterranean theater. What would really help me, that has nothing to do with aviation fuel or sailors dying, is if you like and comment on my video. Listen, this is a great video. It's giving you all sorts of information and inside information, my take on what happened that day. You're not getting that from any other place. So all I ask for, don't send me money. Just like and comment on the video so I can get this out to as many people as possible and to get my what you call it, get my content out there. Okay, I really appreciate it. Now, on December 13th, 1942, the very famous American journalist Edward Murrow came out, and it was the first major announcement in the Western press that Jews were being exterminated by the Nazi regime. And this was a quote. Edward R. Murrow said, "Millions of human beings, most of them Jews, are being gathered up with ruthless efficiency and murdered. They are no longer concentration camps. We must speak of them now only of extermination camps." Wow, it only took them what, 2 years to start talking about it, even though Polish sources had been talking about this for a long time and getting the word out to their home offices, their immigrant centers in the UK. But it finally started getting some traction with in the West. Now, did this in any way, shape, or form prompt the Allied High Command to do anything to prevent the Germans from doing that, or at least make it more difficult? No. Throughout the war, the high command did nothing they didn't try to stop the trains. They didn't do anything to stop them. They kept going without any attention. The Allied point of view was, well, we'll save more people by trying to end the war as soon as possible rather than do anything we could to try to help them, which I think is a morally repugnant position, but that's just me, maybe. Okay. And then finally, on December 13th, 1942, the British were able to capture some Enigma code books when they sunk the German submarine U-559. And once they got those code books to Bletchley Park, which was the center of the British code breaking attempts throughout the war to read the Germans' codes, within an hour, we were able to start intercepting and decoding German submarine intercepts. And it allowed them to instantly pinpoint the locations of 15 U-boats and to be able to send, Royal Navy units out there to try to sink them. This was the code breaking war was not just the case of one specific success meant they got everything. It was most of the war until about 40, late 43, 44. Most of the time it was they could see maybe a little bit of the picture. They could see enough to make some overall conclusions, but not 100%. Now later, of course, like I said, in the war they did, and the Germans never cottoned on to it that they had broke their code because they had this arrogant idea that these Enigma machines and the codes were unbreakable. Well, as the Japanese learned as well, to their detriment, it's pretty hard to win a war when the enemy can knows ahead of time what you're doing. And the Brits and the Americans were very good about not letting the Axis powers catch on that we had broken their codes. So I hope that you've broken the code and realize that my videos are great. So I'm going to give you another video tomorrow, like I always do. So I look forward to providing that for you. And thank you again for watching.